So I've been playing a whole bunch of games in the past few months, but I didn't really know how to talk about them. Like, a few of them had really fun and interesting ideas, but not something that could support a whole 10-minute video. So I decided to start a small series called Game Design Snacks, where I just compile a bunch of interesting game designs that I played recently. So, without further ado, let's get into games. The first game is Dr. Langeskov, the Tiger and the Terribly Cursed Emerald, a Whirlwind Heist, the debut game from Crows, which is founded by the designer of the Stanley Parable, William Pugh. It's a really cute game in the same vein as the Stanley Parable, where you play as you, trying to play a heist game. It just so happens that everyone that was working on the game has gone on strike, so you're gonna have to be the person that controls everything in the background. It's really charming and fun, and you should definitely check it out since it's free and only takes about 15 minutes. I will be spoiling the very end of the game, so if you do want to check it out, skip this part and go to this timestamp. So my favorite part of the game is the end. The whole game has been building up this huge epic heist, and when you finally get to experience it, they forget to turn the lights on.
What? Another player? You've got to be kidding me. I can't do this again. Okay, this is really awkward. The fact of the matter is... Wait, hang on, where are you going? Right, so, look, I need to talk you... Okay, that's the lighting room. You need to put...
The best part about this is that you've actually walked through the entire heist level already, so you know what's supposed to happen when you actually do get to the end, and your imagination has now filled in all the spaces that are missing, which is basically everything. The developers allow for the audio to speak for what's happening, and I call this something like a low-budget set piece.
Wildlife prep. No, hang on. Hang on. There's a tiger in there. There's a tiger in there. That's no, don't pull that. Wait, no. Oh.
The game has already given you all the pieces to put into your brain and imagination, so by the end, you're not disappointed that you didn't actually experience it. The audio and the setup has already provided that for you. There's actually a BAFTA-winning short film that does this exact same thing called Pitch Black Heist, where two guys have to break into a pitch black vault, and the entirety of the heist is done through audio alone. The first half of the short film is them planning out the heist, showing a rough look at what the vault looks like on the inside with cardboard boxes. Again, a great way to save money on the production end and to maintain the validity of what's happening on screen. The second game I want to talk about is Tricky Towers. It has a really simple concept that goes for miles. It's Tetris, but all the blocks are affected by physics. So basically, you can't just shoot blocks down really quick to get things in place. If you move a block slightly off course, it won't just fit in neatly. That gap will still be there, so later on as you keep stacking, that structural weakness will show and things will start to slide and teeter. That could have been the entire game and it would have been fine and novel, but the developers also add a bunch of different modes and power-ups to fully take advantage of the physics-based Tetris blocks. One of the modes is reaching a certain height by stacking things. The two notable aspects of this mode is the finish line actually lowers over time, so if the players made a bunch of mistakes early game, they can still win. And the other is that the tower has to maintain a certain height for 3 full seconds, because they know some players would just spam blocks as quickly as possible to get as high as possible. Another really fun mode, and my personal favorite, is the puzzle mode. This is where a player has to figure out how to stack as many blocks as humanly possible underneath a line. And this is where players can really take advantage of the physics aspect, like balancing blocks really far out, but putting counterweights on the other end so it doesn't flip. One of the power-ups wraps vines around a bunch of blocks so they can't be separated, so that's usually a really good counterweight strategy since that cluster of blocks can't be moved. There's also difficulty levels where they add modifiers to the levels like wind or fog, so that also affects the blocks that players are trying to stack. Tricky Tower seems like a really bold move, pretty much saying, hey, we're gonna do a reboot of Tetris. but with just a simple twist, it completely recontextualizes the way you view Tetris. Finally, I want to talk about 1001 Spikes. It has a really old visual aesthetic and it's really charming. It's a really difficult platformer, something in the vein of the classic platformers and things like Spelunky and Super Meat Boy. However, the most interesting thing about this isn't just the game, but the actual controls. So 1001 Spikes actually has 2 buttons for jump, one for a short jump and one for a high jump. This provides the players lots of precision when going through a level. The player has to decide and figure out which jump is best for which moment. The high jump is obviously, well, jumping high. But when the player uses the high jump, they spend a lot more time in the air, and a lot of the challenges in the game are time sensitive. The low jump is obviously not as high of a jump of the other one. But the good thing is that it's much faster than the high jump. One of the obstacles in the game is this knife thing that shoots out when it detects a player jumping in its range. So if you do the high jump, you're gonna die because you're still floating in the air and it takes longer to land. And sometimes there's spikes on the ceiling, so if you do a high jump, you're gonna die. It's a really hard game, but it supplies you with all the things that you need to succeed. And it's a really fun mixture of platforming precision and platforming puzzles. So that's it for this video. Let me know if you liked it and what I can do to improve this new series. Thanks for watching.